Hogstye.
Hey everybody, I'm back. It's Alex here with you on the Hogstye. Steve has joined me. Jamal apparently has a two-a-day or something with his flag football team, so he is out this week. Guys, I want to talk to you real quick as we get started about our partnership with Symbol, the stock market for sports. You buy and you trade and sell sports teams like a stock. You earn a cash payout when they win. Symbol is blending the stock market and sports, offering you a new way to invest and profit on your favorite team. It doesn't have that high fee and losses of gambling, which is nice. You know, if your team loses, you just don't make money that week, but you can win the next week. Or if you're playing, owning a baseball team, they play, 4 or 5 times a week. So you have a lot of opportunities to make some cash. Sign up now. Use our promo code Hogstye. You get a $10 bonus when you sign up. It's great. I did it. Steve did it. It's an easy way to get an extra $10 in your account. If you're a homeowner like me, then you buy the Washington football team right away. If you're like Steve, you bought a bunch of baseball teams and have probably made double your money already. But he was smart. I was not. I went with the blue chips situation.
That's kind of generally speaking is true, though, right? I'm smart. You're not. Aren't we?
When it comes to stocks, yeah. I don't do the stock thing. You know that. But go ahead. Go out there. Grab a team. www.simbull.app or visit them through the link on our website at the Hogstye. Again, our promo code Hogstye, $10 discount, or $10 bonus, not discount, and start playing today, guys. There does our Symbol ad. Steve, good to see you again. I was in the woods, and we didn't have internet until late Saturday night. Squirrels had apparently chewed through my internet line. I had to get it replaced up in there.
Is that literally what happened? Oh, wow.
Yep. I was wondering why it wasn't working. When I called to get it set up, they're like, we can't reach your router. And squirrels.
So you
Squirrels.
emailed me.
Yeah. I did it through my phone on roaming, yeah.
But that took like a day to get there. I didn't get your email until after we had already recorded.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
When you're in the woods, things are a little different. I'll just say that.
Yeah, here I thought you were like in Aruba or somewhere on vacation.
No. I was up in my place in the Adirondacks. No. I'll tell you a little story.
Okay.
Now that I own the place, because, I inherited it from my dad. My brother and I co-inherited it, but I'm kind of taking charge because he doesn't have money. We had to get a new stove. The stove was 30-something years old. I called Home Depot, asked them to deliver one, and I tell them, it's on a mountain. Don't bring it in a big truck. Use like a Sprinter van or something. What do you think they bring it in?
A big truck?
Yeah, 25-foot truck. Luckily, my uncle was there, and he has an SUV. The stove fit in his SUV with about a half-inch clearance on each side. But we had to haul it up ourselves. I had to wire it up myself. So, that wasn't fun. It was not a fun little 4 days off.
What did you expect Home Depot to do, though?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how their delivery process works, is trucks.
Well, yes, but if you call in and say, hey, just FYI, and it's literally on the delivery receipt I have from them, says, don't use big truck, use van. Yeah,
but my point is, I don't think they had anything but a big truck.
I'm sure. Well, they rent U-Hauls at the Home Depot.
I don't know.
They're there.
It just shows how far in the woods you are if you had to basically haul your own stove up a mountain.
Yep, we did. And thank God my uncle was there, or I was going to be carrying it up. And that ain't easy.
Carrying a stove up a mountain. This is what Alex does in his off time, is carry stoves up mountains.
Yeah. You'd think I'd be in better shape.
Weirdly, you're not.
No, I'm not. Since I missed last week, I wanted to touch on the Jay-Z rumor real quick and just my thoughts on it, because I'm kind of excited about that, Steve, for a very random reason. Jay-Z's married to Beyonce, as we know. But what a lot of people don't know, my wife went to high school with Beyonce. She was a year or two older. She was in the same class as her older sister, and was friends with her older sister. Not that they talk anymore, because...
So wait a minute. So your wife was friends with Beyonce's older sister?
Correct. Because they went to A-Leaf High School together.
Okay.
And,
Houston,
right around
Texas,
your neighborhood.
where Beyonce's from.
Yes. Yes, people don't know that Beyonce, even though like she was famous and had a lot of money, they still went to like the public school in A-Leaf, Houston, around Houston.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if this means that Jay-Z's going to be at your house.
no, I don't think so. I doubt it. I doubt I'd even get a free ticket, but it would just be a fun little tie.
So the question is, does your wife have any communication with Beyonce?
No, not anymore. She again, they grew up together.
Yeah.
Like she knew her growing up, and it's like, oh, your little sister's famous now. You know, when Beyonce was with Destiny's Child, but they were like that was a thing. But
I mean, we went over Jay-Z last time. I don't really want to reiterate my thoughts. I mean,
sure. I just thought I'm excited if it happens just for that stupid little connection.
I just think it's a weird pairing a little bit.
Oh,
Dan
it's
Snyder,
absolutely a weird pairing.
Yeah.
It's like lamb and tuna fish, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know if Dan Snyder can handle having a celebrity overshadow him in literally every sense of the word. You could think of physically overshadow him.
Right.
Celebrity-wise, news, in every way. I don't know if Dan could take that. That was my big...
Well, there's that. I mean, we all know how the Tom Cruise thing worked out for him. So
Not well. I mean, he's not in Paramount
well
anymore.
at all.
Yeah.
I think there were lawsuits at the end because aren't there always with him?
Yes, everything results in a lawsuit. Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I didn't want to touch on it much. I would be interested and find a little joy in that.
Yeah, that's a weird connection. I hadn't ever heard that story before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you knew my wife grew up in Houston.
Yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know
Yeah.
she was buddies with Beyonce's older sister, though.
Yeah. Childhood friends. Well, let's talk about what's going on with the team this week. First, I think the big story this week, they announced that training camp is going to be back in Richmond one last time on July 27th through the 31st, I believe. It's that week. So it's not even a full week. It's like 4 days or 5 days or whatever. Well,
this is unpaid, too, which tells me that the city of Richmond is mad enough at Washington that somebody talked them into giving them an extra week of tourism dollars for free.
Right. It's what we would also call in the radio world and advertising world a bit of a make good.
Yeah.
Where because of last year and everything got canceled due to the pandemic, even though I know you said you were looking at the agreement, Washington could get out of it. This is kind of we missed a year. Let's kind of make that up. And Richmond's never been happy about this deal anyway.
Yeah, well, first of all, I didn't read the agreement.
I thought you had read the agreement at one point.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I read summaries of it. I don't know if the agreement's public knowledge without filing open records requests and stuff. But no, what I said is that the agreement was ending, and that's what I was saying. And there's
probably an act of God clause.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that. And so usually these type of contracts have what's called force majeure, which says if there's a war, if there's a hurricane, an earthquake, something. I mean, before now, usually you didn't put pandemic in these clauses, but there probably will be in the future. But so last year probably got wiped out because of force majeure, maybe. And so this might be the make good of it. And the money's terminated because Richmond is just done paying the Redskins about it.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at it from their perspective, who can blame them for being unhappy?
Yeah, I mean, they wrote their contract, they signed it. I mean, I don't have any sympathy whatsoever for them because they did it to themselves.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't feel sorry for them at all.
I don't necessarily feel sorry for them. It was poorly done, and if your plan was to do what's done around like a baseball stadium now, where you build a baseball stadium and it becomes a commercial district and all that stuff, they completely botched it because they put it in the back parking lot of a DMV, and they never built a dang thing around the thing.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, the team stunk and the fan base disappeared, and it just was a strange time.
Yeah. Bad timing, too. That's a good point.
By the way, I wrote a long update to my original stadium column from 4 years. It's on the website.
Right.
So read that. I don't think we really need to go into the details here.
There's no real new talk. Other
isn't.
than Dan visiting, L.A., and visiting the stadium out there.
Yes, he got caught on TMZ.
Yeah.
Caught, which
Air
probably
quotes.
means they set it up, is what we mean by caught.
Yeah.
And that was the impetus of it. But I just thought it was time for an update, so that's out there. You can read that on the website.
Yeah, I know with the news about Richmond, people are now talking about, oh, does this mean anything about the stadium? And
No.
I think people are reading a little too much into that myself.
Yes.
I don't think it hurts. Like, if they're still wanting to deal with Virginia, it doesn't hurt to say, well, look, we tried with Richmond here. But
I mean,
it's not going to put a nail in the coffin.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, because the training camp contract is with the city of Richmond, not the state of Virginia. The state of Virginia didn't contribute a dime to it. It really has nothing.
The state did contribute to the upgrades to the practice,
but they didn't contribute any
Richmond,
money
no.
to the Redskins and to the team, and
No.
I don't think it really is that big a deal one way or the other.
No, I don't think so either.
I do think Virginia's the most likely landing spot for the stadium still, though. But just from a land use perspective, it's the only one that really makes sense.
Probably, unless they can get something worked out at Oxon Hill.
Rick Snyder, our buddy Rick, kind of talked me out of that, knowing how much money the state spent on gambling there and everything.
Right.
It sounded like a good idea 4 years ago. It doesn't sound very plausible now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's feasible. But the one thing I will say, I've always been in the minority that I actually enjoyed going to training camp in Richmond as a fan, because I thought it was, it's like in this cool little area of town where there's breweries and there's like a really good barbecue joint about 3 blocks from the practice facility to go to for lunch. And when you go there, man, that line is out the door. So, there's cool things about going down there that I don't think you get going into Ashburn. Ashburn's kind of just a suburb. Even though they have, that strip mall thing that they built, the fancy strip mall not far from the park, it's not the same.
Training camp, I don't know if people understand this. Training camp is always about money, okay?
Sure.
Training camp is where the team gets paid to do it. And if they don't get paid to do it, they do it at home. There's a reason, like Jerry Jones isn't flying his team out to California because he wants to burn jet time.
No.
It's because Oxnard, California I think it's Oxnard, California.
It is, yeah.
Paying a truckload of money to Jerry. That's what it's about. That's why Washington went to Richmond. It's because Richmond drove a Volt, a Brinks truck up to him. That's why. And so the next training camp will be wherever and whoever pays Washington the most. Personally,
yeah, of course.
If I was the coaching staff, I'd want to just do it at home.
Well, interesting you say that, because I was reading that Rivera is actually, because he's an old school guy, he is more of I like doing training camp away from our facility guy.
See, I want to say I've written so many columns at this point I can't even remember what I've written. I think I wrote about this.
Yeah.
And I think Carolina did it at home sometimes, and they went there was no real rhyme or reason to what Carolina did under Rivera. Because, again, it's not always up to the coach.
No,
it's up to ownership,
never
ultimately.
Up to the coach.
Yeah.
The coach might get a vote, but it's really up to the front office and the owner and all that.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, I think, if you talk to old school fans, and I would consider you an old school fan, yeah. I'm kind of in the in-between range where I remember the good days, but I was a little kid. I always hear, anytime you talk about training camp, people are like, put it back in Carlisle. Put it back at Carlisle. Put it back at, there was another college they played at for a while.
Well, it was up in the backwoods of northern Maryland.
Yeah. Was it Frostburg or something?
Yes, it was Frostburg State, I think.
Yeah, people always want to go back that way. And, again, no one's going to pay for it. And honestly, you think Pennsylvania is going to want the Washington football team back up there? Really? They have 2 football teams. I think they'd rather get the Steelers and the Eagles some kind of sweetheart deal.
Well, that and, the facilities that played Carlisle aren't NFL worthy anymore either.
No. They weren't even back then, but it was a different time.
And the only reason people like Carlisle is that's the good old days.
Right.
It wasn't anything special. It was just kind of isolated in the middle. I've never been there, but isolated in the middle. If you've ever been up to southern Pennsylvania, it's like Deliverance up there. There's nothing up there. And that's where Carlisle is, just this little college in the middle of nowhere. And, but it was great because the team was winning.
Well, and most people don't think of this. I liked the idea of Carlisle because of its important ties to the history of the game. If you really understand football history, the Carlisle Indian School, that's where Pop Warner really revolutionized football. And that's right there. That's part of the facility they were practicing at there. Granted, the Carlisle Indian School no longer exists for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, but nobody cares about that. You do.
No.
No one else
Fans
does.
don't care. People like me care about that, and I'm 0.1%
Yes.
of the population of Redskins fans.
I just mean from a logistical standpoint, if I were a coach, I'd rather just practice at home. We don't have to worry about it.
I think logistically, that's probably the easiest thing to do, of course.
Yes.
And you just spent, what, $2 million to renovate your facility.
And it's the most productive. You have your facility there. Like you said, you just upgraded it.
Mm-hmm.
The locker rooms are there. I mean, the film rooms are there and all of that. I just think it's just easier.
The only reason I think that guys like the go away for camp is there is that old school mentality that it helps build camaraderie if you do it right.
I mean, I think you could do that at home if you have the right coaching staff. If it's like Club J, probably not. But if you, if you have a guy like Rivera, who seems to be a guy who's much more disciplined and rigorous in practice, I think you could do that at home and be just fine.
I mean, the only thing I think you would maybe consider would be get a hotel, have all the guys stay in the hotel for a week, do that part, even if you're doing it at home.
Well, they do that for the people who are the rookies, at least.
Yeah,
you have to. I mean, because they haven't even gotten apartments. They're not going to have, most of them are going to get cut. So you would have to put all the people up, or half of the people up in apartments anyway.
Yeah, I've never talked to anybody about the logistics of that. That would be an interesting guy to, talk to somebody in the business side, and what are the logistics when a guy comes in, finding him in a place, all that stuff.
You don't need to talk to a business guy. I mean, I know exactly what it is. There is one particular hotel in the Ashburn area they put all these guys up in. The team probably has a contract with the hotel that says, we need this X many rooms, during training, during this time. And they put all the people who don't live there go there. That's what it is.
And they do that through the year, too, because obviously they bring in guys.
Yeah, it's one. The name is escaping me. It's one particular hotel out there that they all stay in. I can't remember. I probably wouldn't want to say it on the air anyway. But
sure.
If I thought about it, it's going to come to me at some point. But that's what the team does.
Yeah. Okay. I just was kind of wondering. Do you use a hotel? Do you just? I mean, if you think about it, you're there for 30 years. It could be cheaper, arguably, to just have a place and build your own. But I don't know.
No, you wouldn't want to do that. I mean, that's sunk cost, and no.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're talking about training camp. Obviously, OTAs finished up this week. I think everyone showed up except for Chase Young, which, some people make a big deal about. Some people think it's no big deal. I don't know where you stand on that, Steve.
Okay, so last week, the show when you were out, Jamal and I talked about this, and we both agreed that we would give him the benefit of the doubt last week because we didn't know what was going on. Maybe he had some personal thing. I mean, who knows?
And he hasn't said anything.
Yeah, but I do criticize him now.
Sure.
There's no reason. Absolutely. He needs to be there. I think I saw a workout video or something of him on a field, sprinting against somebody. So clearly it seems like, absent something that we don't know, that there was no real reason why he wasn't there. The man lives from Upper Marlboro, for God's sakes.
Right. I could drive to his house in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I lived 2 minutes from where he grew up at one point in time. So there's no reason for him to not be there. And I think if you are a team leader, which he is at least by status-wise, you need to set the example. What else do you have to do? Here's the dirty little secret that I don't think the fans really understand. NFL football is not that hard from a scheduling standpoint, okay? I said that poorly. They're not that busy, okay? Even during the season, they aren't that busy. They get a lot of time off. They have nothing to do in the offseason at all except for these OTs, and these OTs aren't that stressful. They go basically 3 days a week for a few weeks in a row. And
it's like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. And so there's no reason to not be there. I think it does say something about you. I always criticize Trent Williams for not showing up. I think it does matter. I think if you're a leader, you need to show up. Like if I was a football player, what else do you have to do? Again, if he had something personal last week, I mean, maybe he had a wedding and
who knows?
I don't know. But second week in a row, he just doesn't want to be there. And so I do think I fault him for that, and I criticize him for that.
Yeah, I would much rather see everybody there. That's all. That'd be my standard. I don't care if it's Chase Young or if it's the guy we drafted with the very last pick.
Yeah.
I want you all there. Why? Because you need to get used to the new guys on the team. You need to build that rapport. You need to learn the new stuff that they're going to start doing in walkthroughs. You've got a lot of new players. You're going to be playing some very different schemes, I think, in 2021 versus what you played in 2020.
I agree completely. And I would throw in there, what else do you have to do?
Right. I mean, it's not like, and because he is local, it's not like you're in a place with better weather. You're not
going to a
in
job.
This mid-70s swampy heat, no matter if you're in Upper Marlboro or Ashburn.
You're not working at Walmart in Idaho because you're not making enough money. His primary job is football. He's rolling in dough. What else do you have to do?
Yeah, I don't get it. And if he comes in and he's in good shape and he's not behind at all, it's a nothing story. But I would rather him there.
It's not the end of the world, whatever. But I just don't. I don't like it, and the CBA doesn't let the NFL mandate these things.
No,
I would tell the players. I realize what the CBA says, and you need to make a choice, but I expect all of you here. I would try to get as close to the line as I could if I were a coach.
Whatever the line is, walk it.
Yes, that's what I would do.
Maybe even stick a toe over the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and the one other thought I've had about this whole situation, the problem with them getting rid of Kerrigan like they did, or moving on from him, they didn't cut him or anything, but now you don't really have a true veteran on that defensive front who can call Chase Young and say, "Yo, what's up? Where are you?"
Maybe John Allen would be the only one.
There are rules that coaches can't really do that, which, we were talking about where that line is. I think coaches aren't allowed to call and ask a player to, why they're not showing up.
No, they're not. They're not. But
other players can.
I think John Allen is the only one that's close to that status.
Right. And I don't know if John Allen is veteran-y enough where he can. Honestly,
because he's not but a couple years older than Chase. Yeah,
right.
Kerrigan was certainly the old man of the bunch. Yeah.
Right. When you have a 3 in front of your age, it's different than a 2.
And he's an all-time Washington great, and he's a proven player. Yeah.
But even if you had who was the guy Davis from last year, the guy who Thomas Davis.
Oh, well, yeah, who was barely there himself.
Yeah, but he was like a veteran. He was just kind of in the locker room to be a veteran.
A guy
leader.
like that, as a general rule, yes, I agree.
Yeah, and they don't really have anybody like that this year who can
not really
step in and say, let me call Chase and see what's up.
I mean, I guess by default, the biggest vet is John Bostic, but I mean, does he really have? No
one's listening to John Bostic either.
No.
John Allen, I think maybe because he's a very good player. He's been a first-round pick. He's going to get a big contract soon, so it would make sense for him. But
yes.
Yeah, I think we kind of need Chase, someone to. I mean, it's weird.
I don't think there's any other news other than that. I mean, what I learned out of training camp was Ryan Fitzpatrick is the quarterback.
Yeah, which I think we are kind of assumed, but
yes, but he's clearly the starter. That doesn't mean that things won't change necessarily, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is the unquestioned starter.
He's got the edge over everybody else. Yeah,
absolutely. That I think. Other than that, I'm not sure we really learned anything.
I learned that the receiving core is going to be much better this year. Just looking at highlights of how much faster these guys are, how much more athleticism you got with the new additions. I think we're going to be a very different receiving core here.
I mean, I think it's fair to wonder if the team coaching staff is going to properly utilize Curtis Samuels to maximize his strengths. Mm-hmm. Because I remember Mark Bullock on the show called him the gadget guy.
Yeah.
He's not really a traditional talent necessarily. So if Scott Turner and company are creative enough and understand how to use him, which they really ought to be, and it's not like they don't know the guy.
Yeah.
But a poor coaching staff could possibly minimize his contributions. And so I think in terms of the wide receiving core, I think that's the trick is because Terry McLaurin, there's no doubt about who and what he is. The number one option, always the outside receiver, always the X guy. There's no doubt. But Curtis Samuel, question mark. What's really, he's going to do a lot of different things, and I think it takes some creativity and some skilled offensive coordinator talent to really figure it out. And so if you have a question, it's that.
Well, I think it's that, but then you add in the fact that you have Brown now, you've added, who seems like his natural fit is going to be an outside guy. He's
I told you. I mean, I watched his film. I mean,
Yeah.
he is an outside guy.
Right.
That's what he is. It's what he did in college. Maybe he can learn to be a slot guy, but he's an outside guy. I just think De'Ami Brown is going to take some time to develop.
Sure,
I don't think he's really there yet as compared to like McLaurin in terms of his skills and route running and all that. I like De'Ami Brown.
He basically ran a deep tree all through college, right?
He did, and so I just think it's going to take some time, and I don't think he's as fast as people think he is the other thing. I'm not saying he's slow. He's a fast dude, but I don't think he's a 4.3 guy. It's a burner, and he's
not Deshaun Jackson.
I don't think so. No.
But I mean, I do think that's going to be a factor, is how these guys get used. That's a good point. Scott Turner and this team does know how to use a gadget guy, though. I mean, they have, J.D. McKissick. He's a gadget guy. He's doing it from the running back spot, but he's a gadget guy. You had Steve Sims Jr. last year, gadget guy. Let's be honest.
Chris Sims is not a gadget guy.
No, Chris Sims as a quarterback was the opposite of a gadget guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then Isaiah Wright, gadget guy. I mean, they had
Isaiah
multiple
Wright's
guys.
a slot guy. I don't know if I'd call him a gadget guy.
In college, he ran the ball like 80 times. He started out as a running back and flipped to wide receiver. So Gibson does the opposite. He's a wide receiver flipping. Like, you have plenty of guys who they had that can do gadget plays.
Well, we said this last time. I mean, I think you were on the show. It's a very multi-role, heavy offensive talent base that you have here, and so I do think it's going to take some time,
of course,
to get these guys to gel more than like a normal offense. So it will take time to get this offense in shape. So it may be that in the early part of the season we see some struggles that don't work themselves out towards the middle of the season. I think with this offense in particular, because I don't think it's going to be a traditional offense.
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to see a lot more, multi-wide receiver sets, and then you'll see like an end around or, a lot of gadget plays out of like speed formations. Whereas I think last year it was more out of power formations. You saw that kind of stuff happening, more out of necessity for the players you have.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll mention about OTAs was the story that came out was about how Terry McLaurin was working with Doug Baldwin in the offseason. Who's, a great veteran wide receiver. McLaurin specifically is trying to vary his releases off the line of scrimmage. And here's what I like about Terry McLaurin. He's a talented receiver. Nothing about him is elite level talent naturally like a Deshaun Jackson or these guys who are natural big men. Like, he doesn't have natural elite speed, natural elite size, or anything.
Fast, so he's
fast. He's good at everything. He's not elite at anything. But I
don't agree with you there. He is an elite route runner, I think.
Okay, elite route runner. That's fair. But I like that he's working with a veteran like Doug Baldwin, to vary up his skill set in the offseason, because you got to keep doing stuff like that when you can't just naturally burn everybody or out jump everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of decision by him is very smart.
Yeah, I mean, learning how to vary your releases is a way to better fool corners, put different things on film to keep people from playing you the same way, and so certainly that's a good thing. And Terry's, we're really lucky to have him. It was only because he got buried on the depth chart at Ohio State that he made it out of, rounds 1 and 2. And obviously, if you go back and do the draft again, he would be drafted in the first round.
He would probably be a top 15 pick now.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly think it's always a good thing when the players work on their skill set every year. Some people don't do. Some people, like Kobe Bryant in basketball, used to come show up every year with a different skill.
Right.
And guys like that, Terry McLaurin's kind of the same way. He's
pros.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, and Kobe's a good comp. In basketball, I think there's a lot more comps to this. Guys who they know that if they keep working at it, they'll just keep staying good. Kobe, Michael Jordan, all these guys who just kept on, like, you don't outwork them.
Kobe's actually a pretty good comp for McLaurin, maybe, because Kobe was a guy, rest in peace, by the way, but Kobe was a guy who didn't have elite skills. He he didn't jump the highest. He wasn't the most athletic. He just was like insanely driven to be great. And he added stuff to his arsenal every year, and that's sort of what Terry McLaurin is. So that's kind of maybe
that's what I'm talking about with what I was saying too.
Yeah,
they're 4 stars in almost everything. They don't have many spots where they might be the 5-star guy.
I do think McLaurin is a 5-star guy in route running, though.
Yeah, but again, that's a skill that you have to pick up.
Oh, sure,
that's not a natural athletic thing. And maybe that's the difference. Is I was thinking more he's not a naturally athletic 4.2 speed guy, or naturally athletic. He's not 6'6", and you can't. That's never going to happen for him. And
I think receiver more than anything is just a mentality.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times some people just can't get over the hump. Obviously, we've had many receivers bust here.
Most, yes.
Almost all of them, frankly.
Yeah.
Save Jamison Crowder. And a lot of it's just mentality. Like Josh Jackson just didn't have it.
No.
He had it physically, just didn't have it mentally. And like Terry McLaurin clearly has it mentally. And lo and behold, he's, turning into a budding superstar.
I mean, I'd rather have a core built of guys who are 6'0" like Terry, or 6'1". He's kind of in between there, but they work at it. Than Josh Jackson, who was 6'4" but didn't care.
Yeah, he's like the modern day Michael Westbrook.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even Westbrook though, tried a little bit. He had 1 or 2 good years.
Yeah, but he was so physically gifted. I think he just athleted his way into that, though. I don't think Michael Westbrook ever cared about football ever.
Not as his primary thing, no. He unless it was fighting. He loved fighting.
Yeah, he loved to beat down his own players.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? We didn't have this on the list of things to talk about, but there was that story that came out that the team hired a psychologist. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. The one I still look at the press releases that the PR people send out on.
Yeah, but Rick Snyder pointed out the last time the team had one was to deal with Michael Westbrook and Stephen Davis after that fight. Which, I think you definitely need it after that. And I don't think there's any harm in having one on the team. Like if you have a guy available for these kids to talk to, no harm in it.
I mean, I think it's silly, but I'm old school.
Yeah. You're not new age, that's for sure.
I'm not going to some council, I'll tell you that right now. I'm never doing that. I think it's a waste of time and money. I think it's very new agey and touchy-feely, and I'm just not going to do it. But does it hurt anything to have her? I think it was a her, right? I can't remember her name. Does it hurt anything to have her on staff? I mean, no. It's just not something I would ever do. And
I don't think everyone needs it.
No.
But, somebody pointed this out, and it might have been Rick. You got a lot of 20-year-old kids coming in, or 21-year-old kids coming in, who've never had money, who've never had fame. Maybe having somebody to just talk to them and say, hey, here's how you can help deal with these situations. If they need it, it's there now.
See, that's supposed to be the player personnel guy.
I know.
Doug Williams.
Yeah. But I don't think that's been very effective, honestly. As much as I like Doug, you don't hear much about it.
Darius Guy says hello.
Yeah. No. There you go on that one.
So, yeah, I mean, welcome to the franchise doctor, or whatever your name was. But personally, I would never do it.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm stubborn.
Sure.
So, and I'm old school.
Sure. And they could help you with the stubbornness, not the old schoolness.
No, see, I like my stubbornness. I like kind of being a rebel. If you haven't noticed this, I sort of enjoy. Opposite day is every day for me.
Yes, you are a contrarian.
Yes.
Okay, why don't we move on, though? I don't think there's anything else camp-wise to really discuss. Nothing really blew my mind. I can't get too excited over the highlights that you see.
Well, I don't really see the highlights anymore since now I'm off Twitter. And by the way, I think everybody out there, make my weekly plea, everybody just get off Twitter completely. You'll be much happier. Twitter's a wasteland of bad humanity, and there's no value to it at all. The only thing you need is our updates, and beyond that, there's nothing.
Yeah, just go to our comment section if you want the cesspool humanity sometimes.
You see, I looked at the comment section when I posted my stadium article, and it made me want to come on and ban everybody. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because I wanted to see, is anybody discussing my column, and a couple people were, and I read one of the, is there a, what's the guy, P Funk, he had a good
Yeah.
comment about the, I mean, I
He
appreciate his
actually
comment.
talks about the stuff a lot.
Because I look at it, and usually when I do that, I look at it in the morning, a couple hours after.
Yeah.
And I
The
saw
first
his
30
comment.
comments, usually good.
I saw he had some input and stuff. That was good. But the rest of it was just a wasteland of awful. And
Yeah.
I just think some of those people need to go.
Huh. Me and my love of the First Amendment, I just let people do what they want.
It's not a First Amendment issue. We're not the government. How have I explained this before?
Technically, I am with the government.
No, I mean, we own the comment section. And
I know,
it just, point is, it was a wasteland.
I understand the reality. I just, Anyway, so you mentioned you wrote an article about the stadium. I wrote what I like to call my Friday filler piece because we needed something.
Me calling and saying, hey, we desperately need something for Friday, and Alex obliged.
Yeah, I make something up on the spot. And I wrote it about not so much a Washington football topic. I wrote something about the international games because a story came out this week that the NFL is going to add an international game to Munich, Germany. I can't remember if it's not this year, it's next year, it looks like. And my thought has always been, as soon as they got to 17 games, they're going to expand the international games rapidly. And they want to have, because this year they're doing this thing where the AFC gets 9 games, NFC will get 8 games, right? And it'll flip each year. I don't think it doesn't make sense, and it's probably not sustainable long term.
It's not going to last.
Yeah. I've always said the NFL eventually wants to have an 8-8-1 schedule for everybody, and that one being a neutral site or international game of some kind. And I think now that they've gotten to 17, this is a linchpin for them to expand, and everyone gets one international game. You already play, 3 in London this year, or is it 2 in London this year?
I don't remember.
It's fluctuated every year, how many are in London.
It changes, yeah.
Now you'll add one in Munich. They've played in Mexico City a bunch of times. They played in Toronto a bunch of times. And, we've even played in Asia. When Washington...
In the preseason.
They did a preseason game in Tokyo. My gut tells me eventually you will see 16 games played overseas somewhere. And the only tricky part I can't figure out is how you get to Asia just because of the time zones.
Well, I think, number one, the NFL is going to go to 18 games shortly. That's the rumor. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes sense. Everybody makes more money. I don't buy for a second that the players don't want it. It's just a negotiating tactic, I think, because they make more money too.
Yeah, they just want to make sure they get a good cut.
But I don't think that inhibits your idea. I do think the NFL probably wants to figure out how to do, as you suggest, one international game every week.
Yeah.
And the best part about your column I liked is that really alleviates the need to have a London team, because that's what I've never understood. It just won't work unless you have a European division.
Right, which, you're talking you would need to probably expand the whole league to 40 or something to
you would have to, or 36 at least.
Yeah.
You'd have to have 4 teams to make it viable. So having one international game a week, I think is doable. I think the NFL would want to do that. And you're right to point out Germany. There have been the handful of international players there are in the NFL usually come from Germany. I mean, we have Samus Reyes obviously this year from Chile, but usually they're Germans if they're international. So I think that makes sense. In terms of the time zone thing going to the Far East, I mean, you said it right. The only way you could possibly do it is play the game on Saturday, U.S. time.
Right, you got to move things around where it's a morning game in Japan or Australia or somewhere.
Well, they're like 14, 15 hours ahead, and so what you would do is you'd have it played on Sunday, midday there, and so
we're watching it Saturday night.
Yeah, noon, say in the in Tokyo. So it's a Saturday night. I mean, that's what you'd have to do. The only trick to it is you'd have to give the teams a bye week afterwards.
Of course. And I think if this does become a thing and every team's got an international game, you're probably going to start seeing that where bye weeks are matched up as much as possible.
It'd be the only way, and you'd have to travel. Probably, I would say, as early in the week as possible.
Yeah.
To go there. Because it's such a long flight.
For the West Coast is There is also the factor getting West Coast folks to play on the Pacific more and East Coast folks to play on the Atlantic more, going to Europe. Like, those types of moves make it easier. And then you've got, like I said, Canada, Mexico.
And those are easier to do. But, I mean, in terms of the long travel, you'd have to work out the bye weeks. But I do think the NFL wants to do it, certainly in Europe.
They absolutely should expand into Germany because, like I pointed out, and you just said it with international players, Germany really loved NFL Europe more than any other country.
They actually play football in Germany.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. They enjoy American style football, and I say that because they have soccer and they call it football.
The Vikings drafted a German guy, like a receiver, 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. And we've got one, don't we? Or is he from? We have a guy. There was a guy from London too.
Well, we've got David Bada, who's the defensive tackle,
right?
Who's from somewhere in Europe, maybe not Germany,
he's European.
but somewhere.
I can't remember if he was from the UK or Germany, but it's all from UK or Germany.
Yeah,
you're not getting anybody from France or Italy. But I think that's gonna happen. That's my gut. Now, if they go to 18 games, then it complicates things somewhat. But
you could still have a game a week. And
but I think they want to get to a game a week. That's my gut.
I think they want 18 games more than they want international games, though. So if they have a chance to get 18 games, they're going to do it.
Sure.
And that was a rumor, by the way, this week. That the NFL is considering 18 games. So, and why wouldn't you? Obviously.
I'm assuming then it would be 18 games to preseason because that seems to be what they did for the 17 game, cut
Probably,
one preseason game.
Because the players don't like preseason, not just because of injury. That's their excuse. But the truth is they don't like it because they're not getting paid for it.
Right.
That's why they actually don't like it.
Right. And the other factor with that, the only complicating factor with that is, you do need some preseason to scout some of these players in live game situations. Like the bottom of the depth chart.
You can't just get rid of the preseason totally.
No. I mean, in the NFL, because the NFL is not going to do a minor league. So to like groom guys.
They already have a minor league in college football.
Right. Well, they have that, but you know what I mean.
I know you're right. That's why I'm saying they're not going to be a minor league. There's not going to be a minor league because they have one for free.
Yeah,
already.
They don't have that. Speaking of that, though, on a side note, did you see that Fox Sports is now going to try and bring back the USFL?
I saw you say it. Because when I went to forward one of our articles, I saw you tweeted something about it. Yeah, but I did not see the story, no. So why don't you tell us?
Well, all right. Well, I'll just put it out there real quick. So 2022, next year, Fox Sports has come to an agreement with some, rich guys who have too much money to bring back the old 1980s USFL. No details, like they don't know what teams. They said they want at least 8 teams, but that's their plan. Steve's already shaking his head.
It's so stupid. I mean, when are people going to learn that these weird minor league football things never work?
Yeah, okay, so 2022, now you're looking at the XFL's coming back thanks to The Rock, because he bought the XFL for like $10 from Vince McMahon, and he wants to try and make it work again, even though, it failed in 2019 due to COVID.
One just due to COVID, okay? The ratings were good for the beginning. They went down. It was never going to work. Nobody cares.
That's what happens every time. They all start with good ratings and then go down.
Yes.
Because that one that was the year before the Alliance for American Football or whatever they called it.
It was good for a while and then nobody cared.
Fell apart.
I'm most interested with this USFL thing is did the trademarks expire and they stole them? Or has somebody been renewing them all these years? Because trademarks expire, and this was 35 years ago.
Well, and that's the interesting. It says they own the trademarks, so somebody must have been doing that, buying them and keeping them.
Yeah, maybe did people hang on to USFL trademark all these years, and then Fox bought them, or did they expire and Fox just literally stole them? That interests me more than the actual USFL.
There's probably some
league.
dude, and you know what? I bet you there's some dude who owns all these old trademarks. Because, and people can't see this, but if you look behind me, Steve, you might see I have, a Washington Federals mini helmet sitting around.
It's behind
let me
your
see.
head.
It's buried somewhere. I don't know where
I don't see it anywhere, but yeah, neither can the people who are listening, of course.
So I got, a little Washington Federals mini helmet here.
Okay.
It was on the top shelf. That's why you couldn't see it.
You're the one.
Yes. Well, no, but people there. If you go online, you can find all the old USFL like T-shirts and things like mini helmets. So somebody's obviously still making this stuff.
But I'd like to say this very slowly. I'm going to say it slowly for the benefit of the people at Fox and anybody who's trying to invest in these things. Minor league football does not work. The reason is the talent level isn't close to the NFL, and so what you see is bad football during times in which other sports are entertaining people. There in the spring there is basketball and baseball going on,
and
that
some
is
hockey. Yeah.
and a little bit of hockey. So these minor league, it's like seeing preseason game level talent in the middle of a whole bunch of other things going on, and it never works. It's never gonna work. It's a total waste of money. So if I were Fox, I'd give up the dream.
I mean, it's the cost of fielding a football team is just so expensive. That's the real problem. You know, you can like minor league basketball has kind of worked with like that Big Three league and stuff like that.
But there's the key to Big Three, and that is Dr. Dre, right? Is doing that, I think. No, it's Ice Cube.
Ice Cube, yeah.
I get my rappers mixed up. He's not paying those guys very much. They're making like $10,000 a game.
Yeah.
And his costs are low.
It's a bunch of retired players, you know.
Yeah. So he started small and has, reasonable goals, and it's basketball, and it's a pretty entertaining product. I've watched it. It's a pretty entertaining game.
It helps when you have, the entire Big Three league is smaller than one football roster, in terms of personnel.
I knew the second I heard about what the XFL was, it was going to fail.
Of course. I mean, it was always going to. Like, all these things survive a year or two. The only one that survived for a long time was the Arena Football League for 30 years.
Well, but that was in about 4 different iterations of the arena. It failed many times.
It did go bankrupt twice, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there because it is a funny little, they're trying it again. And what I love is that why is it that every time this happens, you get like 3 people trying 3 different leagues at once? That doesn't help. Like that.
No, and they always have weird goals. Like there's been a couple we talked about on IJB, like maybe a year ago. There's a couple little tiny weird leagues that like some of the players have started, and they always have strange goals. No, it's never going to work, and they're very player centric, and we're going to pay them a lot of money, and it's going to be great. And what they always forget is you have to have income.
Yeah, who was it? Edrin James or somebody who tried to start a league? I can't. It was some running.
I don't think it was Edrin. It was who's the pothead from Texas. I think. He was involved in it.
I can't remember his name now, but he was like a superstar
Ricky
running
Williams,
back who
I think was
fell
involved
apart.
in
Yeah, I know who. It's on the tip of my tongue, but anyway,
Ricky Williams.
I think it was. There you go. Anyway,
but it never works.
It's never going to work.
I just don't understand why they keep trying. The only one I'll give at least a little bit of. I'll give a passing shot at to is the what does The Rock own? The XFL?
The Rock owns the XFL.
Just because he's such a massive celebrity, if he can talk it up enough, I'll give that one a half a passing shot at it.
Yeah, I think it's a long shot. Although they are trying to
definitely it's a long shot.
Yeah.
But if you have a celebrity involved at The Rock's level, at least it'll get attention. So I'll give that I'll give that a less than 0 shot of succeeding.
Sure. And Canadian 0. Football League, because that's like 100 years old.
But honestly, I mean,
it
has no market in the United States. There's pro leagues that have the only reason, I hate to burst your bubble out there, but the only reason the WNBA survives, no matter what Sports Illustrated had, the last edition of Sports Illustrated had this long, whiny article about why we should be watching the WNBA. And what they forget is that people just don't find it to be a very entertaining product, and that's why they don't watch it. Mm-hmm. The only reason the WNBA survives is the NBA has propped it up for all these years. Right. Otherwise, it would have gone out of business 20 years ago. And that's what happens to these football leagues is nobody watches it, the fan base dries up, the money dries up, and it goes away. And that's what's going to happen to the USFL too.
Yeah. Although last time it was because they tried to take on the NFL, which was not as smart.
And it was in a wholly different market.
Yeah, it was the 80s. Was not very different world.
It was a fraction of what it is today.
Yeah,
back then.
Yeah. Well, all right. Anyway, we talked enough about non-Washington stuff here. Let's move back to our last topic. We have to do our position group breakdown for the interior O-line.
We had to do it sometime.
Yeah.
And so we picked today.
Yes.
We realize this is the most boring, probably.
Most people do not care about interior O-line.
Yeah.
Sorry to our friend Robbie Duncan, who loves talking about interior O-line.
Robbie cares.
Yes, Robbie does care. And, it's an interesting topic because arguably it's probably our deepest position on the offense. Maybe wide receiver now, but I would say interior O-line especially. I'm going to run through the names real quick and then we'll break them down. In terms of guards, you have Eric Flowers, Brandon Scherf, Wes Schweitzer, Wes Martin, Sadiq Charles, and then Ben Schwazel, Bo Ben Schwazel. Yeah.
Bo Ben Schwazel.
That's a hell of a name, kid. That's a hell of a name. And
He's
then
got the alliteration going in that thing.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's alliteration because that last name is so damn complicated.
We don't know even if we're pronouncing it right.
Yeah. Anyway, so then we got Chase Rouillet, Ishmael, and then Tyler Larson at center. So a little thinner at center, but arguably 1, 2, 3, 4 guys who you could see, maybe even 5 guys you could see starting on most teams at guard. So this is an interesting group, Steve. Do you want to start with the centers first since that's easy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, the starter is Chase Rouillet. He's
right.
the guy on the big contract. Keith Ishmael was drafted last year by Ron Rivera, and he played guard and center in college at San Diego State. And so the one thing, I think you can say one thing about Ron Rivera, about the type of players he likes versatility.
Yeah.
And I know every coach says that, but Ron Rivera actually means it.
Especially in the line, though. A lot of these guys are pretty damn versatile.
Yes, because you put Sadiq Charles in this group, but we also put him in the tackle group, and nobody really knows what he's going to do. That's why we're talking about him twice. So the only thing we can say for sure about this group of 3 players is that Rouillet is definitely the starter. I mean, his cap hit this year, I just moved away from it. His cap hit this year, $4.56 million.
No, he signed a 4-year deal, correct?
Yeah, he signed through 2024.
Right.
He signed an extension. Yes, and so he is the long-term starter. Tyler Larson was here for like a cup of coffee a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. That's why. If the name sounds familiar, that's why. He is 30 years old. He's not. Or about to be 30. He's not a youngster. He's just depth, and that's what it makes me kind of wonder if they maybe think less of Keith Ishmael than we thought when he was drafted.
Maybe it could also be that they just want Larson there as training camp fodder. You got 90-man rosters. You got 4 quarterbacks. You need multiple centers for practicing reasons.
Yeah, it could be that. That's for sure.
Yeah. And Ishmael and Larson definitely can play center. I don't know about Bo. I'm just gonna call him Bo because I'm not gonna try and pronounce that last name too much. I know he's a 2-year. 3rd-year player, something like that. He was with the Lions at one point, but kind of a backup journeyman practice squad guy.
He was a 2019 undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin. Yes, has bounced around a little bit. He's a minimum salary, practice squad level depth signing that probably isn't going to make the team, and we'll probably never hear from him again.
Right, and like you were kind of saying though, these guys are brought in because of versatility. I think. Ishmael, Larson, and Bo, all of them could be guards or centers, probably.
I'm not going to say about Bo. I mean, to be honest, I've never paid enough attention to him to really know.
No, I don't think anybody has. That's why
I don't think even Bo has paid attention to Bo.
No, Bo. Sorry.
We just blew our shot of ever having him on this show.
It's okay.
We can do
okay
without
with that. Okay. Well, okay. So that kind of covers the centers really quick and easy. Let's talk about these guards because it's an interesting group. Like I said, I could see an argument that 5 of these guys would be starting in the NFL at some level. Bottom of that group is probably Wes Martin at this point, who, as we know, is very strong, but has a lot of fundamental issues.
Well, that's why I kind of frowned when you said they could be starting, because I don't think Wes Martin could be starting.
I think he could be an emergency starter for some team. He's not a top of the line, but
I think Wes Martin is in trouble.
Yeah. He's definitely in trouble. He's definitely on the bubble because of just that's how the math works. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
that's yeah.
he was brought in under the last regime under Bruce and Jay. Uh, there was a hope that he would kind of work out and become a starting guard for the team, but it just hasn't. He hasn't played up to it.
No,
Flat out.
doubt.
Like when you watch him play, despite he's a workout warrior, he's not. He's not tactically or fundamentally sound enough to really take over this position of left guard or anything.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 4th-round pick, so he's a mid-round pick, and so the team does expect something from him, or
Right.
did at the time he was drafted. However, that was the Jay Gruden era that drafted him, so he's got that against him, because
Right.
Ron's favoring his own guys, as he should. So I think of all this bunch that you've named here, he's the guy that's probably in the most trouble, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. If we're being honest, Bo and Larson probably ain't going to be here either. And you're going to only keep 4. So,
Yeah.
He's probably on the outs there, which, I feel bad for him a little. But
I think Wes Schweitzer played better than Martin, obviously.
Sure.
I mean, he started some. So
they went back and forth last year as starter for a little bit.
Yeah.
And Schweitzer won.
And Schweitzer also was brought here by this coaching staff.
Right.
Originally signed last year, so he's obviously more experienced. What is he? 2006? Yeah, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So he's played more.
He's a little more athletic, in my opinion.
Yeah. So he's definitely
if
in the
you're,
lead.
it's not clear to me. Are they trying to be a bit more of a zone team? It kind of looks like it, but if you look at some of the guys they're bringing in to play on the line,
It's funny you say that because I think Jarrett Patterson is probably a better zone runner than he is anything else. He did a lot of those zone cutbacks.
We've talked about with Gibson how he's best kind of as a slasher, which is great in his zone.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the direction they're going.
I don't think the team is going to go to any system like exclusively.
No,
but
they're not like Shanahan.
Well, and Cosme is known as a zone guy too. The new tackle Sam Cosme.
Yeah.
Was known to be better in a zone scheme. So they have gotten a bunch of athletic zone type of guys. So yeah, I don't think it's impossible to think that we're going to see more zone running than we have in the past.
Sure. I think Martin's got a tough road to hoe to make the team this year, honestly. And again, he was brought in because he was like this big workout warrior, strong dude, but that doesn't matter if you can't get your footwork right.
Sort of reminds you of Trent Murphy a little bit, doesn't it?
Little bit.
Minus the drugs.
Sure. Sure. All right, let's move to the other young guy here. Sadiq Charles, like you said, versatile. Kind of could be playing tackle for him. Played left tackle in college. Could move inside and play left guard for them in the future, or maybe even right guard, depending on what happens with Brandon Scherff long term. Kind of a wild card where Charles lines up, but he has talent. If you watch him in college, he has plenty of raw talent. It's just how does it get used in this league, and can he stay healthy?
Robbie Duncan sung his praises on this show before he was drafted. I think Charles is a huge wild. He may end up a tackle.
Right.
He played all of exactly one snap, if I recall, before he got hurt. So we really haven't seen him do anything at all.
Right.
So I don't think anybody not in the building really has a solid idea of Charles, because it would kind of make sense to have, just from a draft utilization standpoint, to have Charles and Cosme as the starting tackles maybe.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, who knows? And yeah, Brandon Scherff's obviously his status up in the air. We'll get to him in a minute. I think Charles can have to prove where he best fits, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to say about it, because I really don't know.
Because we don't know yet. We haven't seen enough of him to tell you.
Right.
And the only ones who might even know are the coaches, but they've been trying him out all over the place.
And we didn't even see him. There was no preseason last year. We've not seen Sadiq Charles at all.
Right.
So I just don't know.
It is an interesting point. Like, if he were to work out at tackle, though, and I don't know if you'd put him at left and Cosme at right or vice versa, Like, that means you drafted two. If they worked out, that's your bookend tackles for a decade, potentially.
Because a lot of people remember that Zeke Charles fell in the draft because of character concerns.
Right. There was
you
that.
know? Yeah, from a pure talent standpoint, the draft analyst, for whatever credit you give him, and I don't give him much, but for whatever credit you do give him, he was supposed to be a little bit of a higher draft pick.
Right. He was a second rounder with character issues or something.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It is, yeah, and he went to LSU, which, as we all seem to realize now,
it's one big character issue.
Yes, a lot of character issues.
It's the LSU character issues.
Yes,
that's what their nickname.
Yeah, yes. They've changed from the Tiger or whatever they are.
Yeah, it's a guy. Their mascot's going to be a guy in bad clothing hanging out on a street corner
in a trench coat, shady looking dude.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We'll see what happens with Charles in terms of position, and he might just become kind of your sixth man, swing tackle, swing guard. Who knows?
Could be. Yeah.
He's a fourth-round pick. If that's what he becomes, that's fine. By the way. All right. Let's move on to really the big three guards, because I think these two of them are battling out for one spot, and that's going to be Eric Flowers and Wes Schweitzer. But Brandon Sheriff, I think, is the elephant in the room. Not because he's a giant and a big dude, but because he's got a monster contract. He said he's leaving it up to his agent to figure out a long-term deal, which basically tells me he wants to leave.
That doesn't tell me that at all. That tells me he's not going to disclose his hand, and it is in fact the agent's job to do this.
Sure.
But everybody has to understand is this, okay? Washington's playing a PR game with Brandon Sheriff. It leaked to the media that Washington made a, quote, full value, market value offer to him and that he turned it down.
Right.
I would like to dissuade everybody of the notion that that means anything at all. Because here's what a market value deal could mean to the team that's leaking the fact that they did it. They could have offered him a deal that had $18 million in average annual value that was not guaranteed at all. It was all incentive based, deals that really, from a number standpoint, could be viewed as market value, but it wasn't anything that the player was ever going to actually accept.
But was basically a 2-year deal kind of thing.
It could be, yes. So we don't know. There were no details at all about what they offered. It was just people from the team saying we offered them a market value deal. That's just leverage. And so, guys out there, I know they're fan. I've seen it in the morons in our comment section have said it. I think when I've looked. I've talked about, screw him. If they made an offer and turn him down, let him go. We don't know what they offered at all, okay? And I'll say this, having negotiated a lot of things in my life, deadlines matter. Deadlines are what gets things done. The deadline is in July, okay? Washington did not make their highest and best offer in May. That is not how business negotiations work. They threw an offer out there to set a baseline. You got to wait till closer to the franchise tag deadline, the contract deadline to sign franchise tag players to contract, which is in mid-July. I want to say it's the 15th. It's somewhere in the middle of July.
Yeah,
that is when we will know.
And I think we will know. The only question will be if nothing gets done, the team might end up moving him. That I say might just as a.
Well, I don't think they're going to trade him.
About it.
I don't think they're going to trade him at all, but I mean, they could just let him go next year.
Yeah. Many people pointed this out. If you sign 2 franchise tags in a row, no one's ever gotten a long-term deal done after that.
Yeah, I think it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't work it out, it's over. But I put zero stock at all into Brandon Sheriff saying, I'm letting my agent handle it, because that's the truth. That is what happens. The agent's job is to handle it. What else is he going to say? Seriously, what did you expect him to say?
Yeah.
So I don't think we know anything about the true nature of what has happened. Only thing I've heard told to me is that they are talking a little bit. That's all I've heard.
Yeah.
Somebody did tell me that.
I on the field, we know he's got his spot locked up. There's no doubt if Brandon Sheriff is healthy, he's starting.
It's not that. When he's healthy, he's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah. But the health is the question mark, of course, with him. He's
he
missed.
started out as an Ironman in his career, and in the past 3 years he's not.
Yeah,
He's been hurt every year.
yeah, and we see that with guys all the time. Though they get into their late 20s, early 30s, and that's when a lot of people fall apart. And
so he's 29 now.
Yeah.
He's gonna turn 30 in December 26th. So the question would be, because I've written 2 columns about this at least. It's gonna cost about $18 million a year.
Right.
In some way, shape, or fashion, average annual value, $18 million a year with a ton of guaranteed money, because he is probably a top 5 guard in the NFL. The question would be to you, Mr. Zeese, is should Washington do it knowing that he's 29 now with 3 years of injury history?
I mean, and it is a fair question because even though he is a top 5 guard, in my opinion, probably a top 2 guard, if you look at what guards get paid, top 2 guards, I think Zach Martin's making $15 million, right?
Zach Martin is the contract to beat, and that's contract is, I believe, 3 years old now.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to, it's going to be bigger than Zach Martin's.
Right. It's a very tricky situation. This is why you really don't want to get stuck in this franchise tag situation, because if you'd given him a big deal 2 years ago, you're going to get out of it at the perfect time, where he's probably 33, 32, that range, and, you're going to start seeing diminishing returns from a guy that age playing a physical position. It's not like quarterback where, guys play until 36, 37 more and more now.
Well, they can play later on.
They can.
But
it's rare.
Many do. But, is at that point, is it going to be worth 18 million plus per year?
Right, and he's not going to take a deal where, or he might, but I doubt he'll take a deal where he's making $18 million the next 2 years and then drops his salary because he's getting older.
So almost no NFL contract at all, aside from first-round rookies, which are fully guaranteed, guarantee anything on a long-term basis to a player beyond year 2. There are a handful of quarterback contracts at year 3. And in the case like a guy like Patrick Mahomes, how his contract works, which is why Kansas City may regret this, is he's got a rolling set of guarantees of roster bonuses that guarantee 2 years ahead of time. So in other words, it makes Kansas City make a decision about Patrick Mahomes 2 years ahead. And it's huge numbers, like $25 million, huge numbers.
Yeah, his contract is cartoonish when you look at what it could be.
It is, but it's more cartoonish. The cartoon thing about it isn't really the baseline dollar figure. It's how the team is locked into him. Yeah. So, but if you put that as contract aside, it's kind of like a unicorn sort of contract. No contract guarantees anything beyond year 2. A couple guarantee in year 3. So Brandon Scherff's contract with Washington will be a huge number, but the team will be able to get out of it at least beginning in year 3 at a minimum. And so what you're talking about here is he'll be 30 next season because his birthday's at the end of the year. So call him 29 this year, 30 next year. So if you do basically a 5-year extension with 3 years of guarantees at most, you've got him locked up till 32, 33.
Right. And then you probably are going to want to move on from him.
Yes. And so from that respect, it's not as bad as people think. And the other thing is salary cap. I didn't mention this last week. The Players Union and the NFL front office agreed to a maximum salary cap of $208.2 million, I think it was. It's $208 million and something and change. That means that's the max it could go, which is a huge step up over the 182.5 this year.
Right.
That's in recognition of the new TV deals, the return from the China virus pandemic and all that stuff. So there's going to be a lot of cap space. Washington can sign this guy for another 3 years at $18 million and be fine.
Right. I mean, it's not that they can't afford it. It's at what point is he going to be a diminishing return? That's the wild card with all this.
Well, and that's again, like I said, for you guys out there who are balking at 5 years, the third, fourth, and fifth year are essentially team options, basically.
Right. But I honestly don't know if he's going to be worth it in 2 years. That's my concern.
Well, that's the concern.
Yeah,
that's what the team.
I'm not worried about 5 years. I'm worried about this year, next year, the year after.
Personally, to me,
I'd probably do it, but
I mean, if you don't make Brandon Scherff a real offer, who else deserves one? That's
Right.
the thing. I think it sends a bad message to the players. It's like, this guy has been a great corporate citizen. He's never caused a single problem. He's played in Pro Bowls. He's your first All-Pro in a generation, first team All-Pro in a generation, and you're just going to let him go? What does that say to your players? I think?
Right. Well, and I think this team has had that bad history, and they got to change that anyway. Where they've had good players, they've let go, and I'd rather keep a bunch of good guys around if I drafted them than spend a lot of money on free agents.
The streets of Ashburn are littered with the tire tracks of good players who the team let go for no real reason. Antonio Pierce, Lorenzo Alexander. There's a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And then they brought in fatzos like Albert Hainsworth and guys like that.
Adam Archuleta. Yeah.
Huge contracts for free agents that they have not taken care of their own.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a big step to taking care of their own.
Yeah.
Is signing Brandon
I'd
Scherf.
rather be known as a team who does that myself, Anyway. So, I think it's fair to say Scherf, it depends on what happens with him long term, but next year he'll be a starter. He's gifted in that he's a mauler, but you can get him on the second level quickly.
Yeah.
Him and Trent Williams, when they were both healthy and playing together, we had two guys who could just destroy you on every level in the run game, and that was a lot of fun to watch at times. And you might see that now with him and Cosme. I'd hope.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Cosme might be a little more of a finesse guy than Trent Williams.
And I know we're running out of time at this point, but I mean, Eric Flowers, I wanted to mention Eric Flowers real fast.
Yeah.
We kind of skipped over him. First of all, I think he's the second best guard on the team. I loved what he did 2 seasons ago. From a contractual standpoint, it would lend you to believe that he probably is a starter.
Mm-hmm.
He signed a 3-year deal with Miami last year. And so what Washington traded for was the last 2 years of his deal, his $30 million deal. So he's got a $3 million cap hit this year, and then
I loved that move, by the way, that Miami's still eating most of the contract.
Yeah. Well, that's this year. Next year he's got a $10 million cap hit. But that's behind Scherf and Rouye, then he's next.
Mm-hmm.
Salary-wise. So if you go by that, it would tell you that the starters are probably Scherf and Flowers.
Probably. Although Wes Schweitzer did play very well, and let's wrap up with him. Last year, when he became solidified as that starting left guard, it really did stabilize a lot for this offense on that line. He's a solid player. I don't think he's ever going to be a Pro Bowl elite guy. I don't think Flowers is that either. These are not Pro Bowlers, but they are dependable. You don't really have to worry about them just getting blown into the backfield all the time in the passing game, and they'll at least hold their own in the running game.
Well, by the way, I just misspoke, incidentally. Schweitzer's got a big number, too. I
does
forgot
he?
about that. Yeah, so Schweitzer is signed to a 3-year deal through 2022. He's got a $5 million cap hit this year, and next year it's $6 million. So Schweitzer's also a big money guy. So I just misspoke about Flowers. He's got a smaller contract from an annual cap hit basis into Wes Schweitzer. So contractually, those two would be competing.
Yeah, and I think that you're probably going to see an open competition between them in camp anyway.
Yeah, I think definitely. Those are just if you look at, you can always kind of follow the money and see who's going to get the shots. And in this case, Flowers and Schweitzer being slightly more of a cap hit, but those two are competing for the starting left guard spot.
Yeah, unless Sadiq Charles blows people away and can, beat them out for that spot, which, could very well happen. He's got enough talent where he could, if he's healthy, he's got a shot.
Yeah, now the only thing about the contractual status is that Schweitzer has a whole lot less guaranteed money.
Sure. Which isn't surprising, because he was kind of brought in for a prove it that you can be the starter kind of situation.
Yeah, now Flowers has almost $20 million in guarantees, and he's got a much bigger he's got a dead cap hit, whereas Schweitzer's dead cap hit is less, and a little bit less. So, and especially is next year, Schweitzer's at 6 and Flowers is at 10. So it kind of flip flops. But point is, I'll stop babbling. Point is, those two guys, one of those two guys is your starting left guard.
Yeah. All right.
I'm rooting for Flowers just because I like Flowers.
Yeah. So I think we're going to be in agreement in who's going to make the roster. If you want to do that real quick, I'm going to say the final roster is going to have Charles, Sheriff, Schweitzer, Flowers at guard, and then Roulier and Ishmael at center. And I'm not saying that as those are the starters necessarily, just that those are the final 6 guys.
No, I think I agree with you. I mean, I don't know really what to call Sadiq Charles.
Yeah.
Particularly, but throw him in there too. Yeah, I agree. I think that's my.
I mean,
my,
they drafted
my
him last year. They're going to probably keep him to see if he can do something.
Yes, whether or not you call him a guard or a tackle, whatever, remains to be seen. But yes,
right.
I agree with you.
Right. So that's 6 guys there. I mean, I guess they'll probably have to keep. The question is, how many linemen will they keep in the end? Right? Because
10.
Yeah. All right. So then that gives you 4 tackles still to pick
on the
from.
tackles. I mean, Cosme is on the team.
Right.
Charles Leno is on the team.
Yeah. And
Cornelius Lucas probably on
those
the team.
3.
So
that actually
3.
gives you 9, which you could probably just do 9, and Charles flips between tackle and guard.
And one of those guys is the swing permanent swing between Cosme and Lucas. One of the two of them, like Leno, is the left tackle.
Yeah,
for sure. So one of the two of Cosme and Lucas is probably the principal swing tackle. They could keep another guy. Maybe it's Steve Charles because he can do a lot of things.
Yeah, because he can be
guards.
A swing and play guard.
And so then you have 9, and if they want to keep 10, they could.
Yeah.
That's the group.
Yeah. So I think, it's a very good group. Other than maybe a little bit of a question mark with Ishmael at center as a backup, I see us as very deep at tackle and guard right now.
They don't. I mean, I wouldn't call Charles Leno a top-end starter, so it's more depth than frontline talent.
It's not elite, but
no.
Let's say they're all at least average. There's a lot of
fair enough
at least average, and Roulier and Sheriff are Pro Bowl caliber, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sheriff, yes. And I call Charles Leno an above-average starter.
Sure. That's fair.
He did make a Pro Bowl. He's known as a pretty good talent, and so I would call him above average.
Yeah. I would maybe even say Flowers is above average. Not Pro Bowl, but...
I think he needs to prove himself before. But I like Flowers, I like his story, like what he did, but I think he's got to prove himself.
Yeah. But anyway, regardless, this is probably going to be the deep spot, and it's going to be fun to. I think you'll see some good control of the line of scrimmage this year, guys. I think we have gone way over, so we are going to wrap up now.
How did we manage to do this when we had nothing to talk about?
We got sidetracked with other nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, we will be back next week, folks. And what do you know? What position group we're doing next week?
Linebackers.
Linebackers.
Yep.
Nice. That'll be a fun one. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week.